Imagine being dragged beneath the surface by something far stronger than yourself. One moment you're treading water, lungs full of air, laughing with your sister. Next, a set of jaws slams shut with the power of a steel trap. You try to scream, but water rushes into your chest instead. Your arms thrash, your heart pounds, but the weight is unbearable. The last thing you feel is not teeth tearing you apart, but your body surrendering to the suffocating silence of drowning. That was the reality for Isabel von Jordan in October of 2002. She was only 23, a young German woman on a dream trip to Australia. But her life ended in a place that looked like paradise, a place that seemed safe until one man's decision turned it into a nightmare. Kakadu National Park lies in the Northern Territory, a vast wilderness of nearly 20,000 square kilometers. It's a place that feels timeless, where sandstone cliffs rise above sweeping floodplains, where ancient Aboriginal rock art tells stories carved into stone tens of thousands of years ago. Tourists who come here speak of its otherworldly beauty, its sense of mystery, and its dangerous charm. It is both a sanctuary and a hunting ground. Sandy Billabong was one of those jewels hidden deep in Kakadu. In the fading light of an October evening, the water shimmered like glass. The air was warm and thick, scented with eucalyptus. Paperbark trees lined the edge of the water, their reflections stretching across the Billabong's still surface. Dragonflies darted low, skimming across ripples. From a distance, it looked untouched, almost sacred, a perfect place to cool off after a long day in the sweltering heat. For Isabel and her younger sister Valerie, it felt like a dream. They had traveled far, first through Thailand, then Indonesia, and now to Australia, to visit friends injured in the Bali bombings just weeks earlier. To celebrate Isabel's graduation in interior design, the sisters joined a group of backpackers on a 4-day adventure through Kakadu. It was meant to be a highlight of their journey, something they would talk about for years. They were not alone. Other young travelers were part of the group. There were signs around the Billabong, bright yellow warnings in English, German, and Japanese. Crocodiles. The locals knew the truth. Sandy Billabong was home to at least 8 large saltwater crocodiles. But Robles, in a decision that would later haunt him, told the group it was safe. He had convinced himself it was fine. He had shone his torch over the water, looking for the reflection of eyes. And he saw nothing. He believed, wrongly, that it was clear. With his authority, with his experience, he reassured them. And that reassurance was all it took. The water sparkled under the moonlight, calling out like a natural pool made for them alone. The air was thick with laughter and trust. But beneath that still surface, silent eyes were watching. One wrong decision had just set fate in motion. So, one by one, the young travelers stripped down and waded into the warm, inviting water. Laughter echoed across the Billabong as they splashed each other, dunked one another, and floated under the full moon. At first, it was just a bump in the water. James Rothwell felt something brush against his leg. He thought it was one of the others playing a prank on him. Seconds later, a scream pierced the night high, sharp, then cut off abruptly. Isabel had vanished. The water exploded in chaos. Valerie and the others scrambled toward shore, splashing frantically, their screams mixing with the sound of thrashing water. From the bank, Andrew, with his didgeridoo, thought at first it was a joke. But then he saw the panic in their faces. When they reached land, drenched and terrified, they shone their torches back toward the water. What they saw froze their blood. 2 glowing red eyes drifted away into the darkness, the outline of a massive crocodile gliding along the surface. And Isabel was gone, fallen silent again. The predator had returned to its ancient routine. By the time police and rangers arrived from Jabiru, Any hope of rescue was gone. The search stretched through the night, lights cutting across the water as boats moved silently. The rangers knew what the tourists did not, that crocodiles rarely kill by tearing their prey apart. Instead, they drown them. The grip of their jaws holds the victim under until the struggle stops, until the lungs fill with water. Then the body is stashed, wedged under logs or rocks to be eaten later. For 7 long hours, the group of backpackers waited in stunned silence, knowing the truth, but unable to accept it. When the sun finally rose, their worst fears were confirmed. Rangers spotted a huge saltwater crocodile, 4.5 meters long and weighing over 500 kilograms, and in its jaws was Isabel. Her small figure was still intact, her body lifeless. The croc swam beneath their boat, refusing to let go. Only when rangers jabbed it with a long pole fitted with a hook, a tool designed for handling crocodiles, did it finally release her. Even then, another, larger crocodile circled protectively, making retrieval dangerous. Eventually, the rangers hauled Isabel from the water. She had broken ribs and bite wounds, but the post-mortem would confirm what they suspected. She had drowned. The question lingered. Why Isabel? James had been brushed first, but the crocodile ignored him. Rangers later explained that crocodiles often target smaller individuals, as they're easier to overpower and drag under. Isabel was young, slight, and to a predator calculating its odds, she was the weaker target. It wasn't personal, it was instinct. And that makes it all the more chilling. But as horrifying as her death was, the blame did not rest with the crocodile. It rested with the man who told her it was safe. The court would later call Glenn Robles's actions grossly negligent. He knew the risks. He ignored the signs. He misled his group. He failed in the most basic duty of care a guide owes to those who trust him. He pleaded guilty to dangerous omission causing death and was given a suspended prison sentence. To Isabel's family, it must have felt like justice fell short. Because Isabel's death was not an act of nature, it was preventable. If the guide had said no, if the group had respected the warning signs, if one voice of caution had spoken louder, she would have lived. She was 23, just starting her adult life, traveling the world with her sister, celebrating milestones and dreaming of the future. Her life ended not because of a crocodile's hunger, but because of a man's arrogance. And that is the real tragedy of Sandy Billabong. A place of beauty became a place of horror because of one wrong decision. A young woman full of light and potential drowned in the jaws of a predator she never should have been near. Today, tourists who visit Kakadu see the warning signs and may think twice before dipping into those waters. They may remember stories like Isabel's. But for Valerie, who watched her sister vanish, and for the family left grieving in Germany, the lesson came at the highest price. Isabel von Jordan's story is not just about crocodiles. It's about trust, responsibility, and the fragility of life. One careless decision took her away forever. And that is the horrifying truth. Isabel didn't die because of a crocodile. She died because someone told her it was safe.